Leopard geckos are undeniably one of the most popular reptiles in this hobby. But believe it or not, I never planned to get one myself. About a year ago, I was given the opportunity to rescue this little guy, Arturo. He's closing in on 14 years of age, and he has had quite the journey, passing through many hands. Many people doesn't realize that leopard geckos can live up to 20 years. I brought Arturo into my home and set him up in a bioactive vivarium that many of you appreciated. However, I think I can do much better. So today I'm building Arturo a new home. This time we're going for a naturalistic woodland look with a unique underground burrow system, proper lighting and automated heating. This was all made possible by ExoTerra, who kindly provided me with all the materials needed for this project. So huge thanks to them. Now let's get started and give Arturo the home he truly deserves. Let's bring everything inside. You're not supposed to escape me, you know. Hey, let's do some unboxing. Nicht fallen, don't drop. Okay, got some bubble wrap, even more bubble wrap, and more bubble wrap. Alright, we got a wire light. This is for the heat lamp. This is the actual heat lamp. It's a ceramic heater. Then we got a UVB light. We got forest canopy light, 3 of those. We got a thermostat that has a dimming, pulse proportion, day and night timer function. And then here we got some BioDrain terrarium draining mesh. 2 of those. This is super exciting. Now this long one, what could it be? This is the canopy top. This is for the LED lights and also for the UVB light. This one is very heavy. This is the SUBSTRATUM, bioactive volcanic substrate. And in here we got the Stone Desert Outback Red. This is a landscaping substrate. You can use it just as a substrate. You can use it to create tunnels or burrows. Just have to try it. So we got the canopy top, the thermostat, 3 of these mamacitas, the UVB, wire light, the ceramic light, drain mesh, the substratum, the stone desert soil. I mean, this could just be a thumbnail like this. Let me just quickly remove all this. 1, 2, 3! We got the large and tall natural terrarium with unique ventilation system, new high quality stainless steel from ExoTerra. And it looks très bien. I'm not French, by the way. The measurements are 90, 45, 60 centimeters, meaning that it's 90 centimeters long, 60 centimeters high, and 45 deep or wide. And if you are an American, here's the inches for you, 36, 18, 24. Here's the background. This is made out of styrofoam. We have one more package to open, which is the cabinet. Why is it so heavy? Oh, I hate this. Number 1. It's now the next day. I managed to put together the furniture. It took way longer than I had to. I've actually decided to keep the tank here, right next to Kiwi. After many ifs and abouts, as we say here in Sweden, I was actually considering having it here in between Leo and Pam, but it looked a bit weird. And I kind of like sitting here, looking at Pam, looking at Leo, reading a book. I never read books. Anyhow, every ExoTerra enclosure comes with this foam background, and there's nothing wrong with it. I just would want to modify it a bit. Kind of like this corner right now with Kiwi here, Arturo here. We have some new paintings here. I might change the content. Why do we have a llama here? The cat is being absolutely useless today. I mean, look at him. He's just laying here. Mino. 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 Leave me alone. Yeah, sure. So how can we modify this, you ask? My plan is to cover it completely with silicone and then press stuff into it. We have all these natural lines here. Why not make them a bit deeper? And then we put soil in between here. And then in the rocks, or whatever you want to call these other parts, we put the stone desert substrate. this next step is best to do outside. And the first thing we're gonna do is to equip ourselves.
Equip me, sir.
How, Mino? You wanna help me? Thank you, Mino. Thank you. That's beautiful, Mino. Bravo. Not there, only in the seams. Only in the seams. You're ruining it, Mino. No, and you're eating it. Go away then. Maybe we do a quick pass with the heat gun as well. I think that turned out pretty great. I'm gonna cover the light part, all these stones, with something called stone desert. You can create tunnels and burrows with it. Or you can just use it as a substrate, or you can use it to cover backgrounds. And that's exactly what we're gonna do. Yes, so let's get to work. So we take the silicone gun and we smear a generous amount here. Use gloves for this, and we work in areas. So I start with this small area first. And then we take some of this stone desert substrate, which I'm regretting now that I took red, but it is what it is. This is a Australian leopard gecko now. Make sure to really press it. Okay? Then we just repeat that process until everything is covered. I'm a bit skeptical because I didn't think it was this red, but I'm gonna trust the process. This will turn out well. If not, it's a leopard gecko that went to Australia and visited the outback. So I'm gonna lift this inside. We're gonna come back tomorrow. The whole thing broke in 3 pieces. This is not gonna ruin my day. The lights are off and Kiwi is looking at me like, I wanna go to sleep, turn off the lights. Let's stop bothering Kiwi and come back tomorrow. So it's now the next day. This is what it looks like at the moment. And it's time to continue with the background. I've brought the enclosure outside, so I'm now gonna silicone it to the back. All you do is flip it, take your silicone gun, be quite generous with the amount of silicone here, so it really sticks. The silicone is quite tacky, so it holds up by itself. Let's do the rest. It's actually quite satisfying. Actually quite pleased with how it turned out. The next step now would be to put silicone in the seams, and then I'm gonna press this terrarium mixture inside the seams so that we can have climbing plants climbing in between all these rocks. Now close the doors. I'm gonna leave it like this for a while and have breakfast, and then I come back and check on it. So it's been a couple of hours and I think the silicone has dried. It's definitely not cured, but I think it's dry enough for me to be able to flip the enclosure. I am pretty pleased with this. I think I have to leave this here for a couple of days, let it cure fully. The silicone smell is pretty bad. So it's now been 4 days since we built this background. It still smells a little bit like silicone, but it's definitely cured. But I want to bring it inside and we're going to continue with this build. Don't do this at home. So underneath Leo's tank, we have all the supplies. And the next step will be to install the compact top with the 3 lights and the UVB light. This is basically a terrarium canopy where you can fit 4 lights. We've got 3 LED lights here. This is for tropical plant growth. I guess we can use it for a normal terrarium like this as well. Super nice sleek design, you know? But I think we need to keep it in the front because we're gonna have the heat light here. So this one is gonna go here. The light can twist on the socket, so you can angle the light wherever you want it, you know. And now I screw it on. And now I can angle it down. And lastly, the UVB light. All right, so let's test it. We have two switches here. What happens if I do this? We switch on these two. And then the second one, that's super bright. The next thing we're gonna install is this wire light with the ceramic heater. Every bioactive terrarium needs a drainage layer, and we're going to use this SUBSTRATUM. It's a bioactive volcanic substrate. It says here that it keeps the terrarium clean and healthy. It's a natural bioactive soil with live beneficial bacteria. It eliminates ammonia and odors. It has great drainage capabilities, and it's ideal for bioactive planted terrariums. For this next part, we need to go into the kitchen. Let's mix the stone desert. Start with a low amount. To a kilo-ish, I'm gonna add 1 hipster jar of water. You can already see it's starting to become clay-like. I'm gonna add just a little bit more. I think we added too much water. So about a kilo, a hipster jar of water, and 3 handfuls extra, and we're at this consistency. On top of the SUBSTRATUM, which is a very good name by the way, the guy who came up with that name should have a raise. We're gonna place this floor tiles, just so we have a hard surface where we could build the caves and the tunnels, you know? And on top of the floor tiles, we're gonna put this bio drain. And we simply place that on top of the floor tiles and on top of the SUBSTRATUM. Now comes the fun part. We're gonna blow some balloons. I've seen some videos on YouTube of people using balloons as support for the caves and the tunnels, which is exactly what I'm gonna do. These long... What? We're gonna use the long ones to make the tunnels and normal ones to make the hides. It's impossible to inflate them using your lungs. My brilliant mind came up with this idea. Now watch this magic. I think that's long enough. Let me check. Gonna need it to be a little bit longer. These 3, I will tape them together and this will be the tunnel. So that's our tunnel. So 1 cave will be here and 1 cave will be here and then the connective tunnel. Let me substitute this one with this one. Now it's a bit too long. Okay, so after many failed attempts, I think I have found the perfect size. First of all, I think it's important that we build the foundation. I have a dab here of the Terra bases. This really gives me the Tatooine vibe, you know, Star Wars, Luke Skywalker's home. I'm gonna leave this to dry. I think this is gonna take at least a couple of days before it dries, maybe even more, maybe a week, I don't know. One thing I didn't think about is how the hell am I gonna get substrate inside the tunnel? I guess I should have put the substrate before I added the clay. So it's now the next day and we have a problem. The tunnel has cracked here, here, and here. It hasn't cracked here, I guess because it's thicker. But other than that, it seems to be holding up, seems to be pretty sturdy. But I think I have to pop the balloons and try to fix this issue. That was a buzzkill. I can now take this opportunity to shape everything a little bit better. Let's see if this balloon will pop. Not really. I must say I'm really liking how it's turning out. Of course this is not how it's gonna look in the end. This is just the infrastructure for the leopard gecko to have something to hide in. But yeah, it's holding up pretty nicely. It's very sturdy, it's very hard. I don't think it's gonna collapse. So now the next thing would be to add substrate in the tunnels, which is going to be very challenging. It's a mixture of sand, topsoil, and a little bit of moss. The goal now is to get it inside of the cave. And I'm gonna do that using a little spoon. Yeah, so that's one cave filled now with substrate. I tossed a little bit here on the actual structure, and I think I'm gonna do the same a bit everywhere. And this is gonna be the humid hide. I'm also gonna add some moss in here, you know. Yo, so with the substrate in place, it really made a difference. It went from looking like something out of Star Wars to, yeah, something still out of Star Wars, but it looks 10 times better with the substrate on top of it. Yeah, so we got the humid hide, we got the tunnel connecting it, we got an entrance to the tunnel there, and then we got the tunnel that finally gets to the, yeah, I guess, warm hide. So speaking of warmth, right on top of it we have the heat bulb that I initially had placed resting on top of the net. It wasn't emitting enough heat, so I modified it a bit. I had to modify the cage for it. So I cut off 2 sections of it. I made a little hole through the net and then fit the bulb through it. And the remaining metal cage is holding it in place. However, we got no control of it now. If it gets too hot, we might burn the gecko. Which is exactly why I think it's a good idea to have a thermostat. Here I've got the Thermostat 600. We can dim it and it also has the pulse proportional function. That means that if... I don't know what that means. Okay, so let me explain. The thermostat actively pulses the heat source to keep the desired temperature constantly. This is the most accurate function. If it's too hot, it pulses it up to the right temperature. And the same thing, I guess, if it's too cold. It has a day and nighttime function, so I can choose the daytime temperature, but also the nighttime temperature. So it's never too hot, it's never too cold in here. It's just the perfect temperature always. So let's open it. Whoa. It's just this little device here. And it has a little probe, so this one goes where you want the temperature to be controlled. I guess this is where you connect the light, and this is where you connect the electricity. Okay, so the thermostat is on, and I fit the probe through one of the ventilation holes here. The probe is now right on top of the cave. I'll just have to fix the cable somehow. Now you connect your heat source to the thermostat. And now we just have to figure out how this works. Press and hold the T button. We should hold it for 4 seconons. Press the T button, now we'll restart. Okay, so if we twist this little, what time is it now? So what does this mean? Okay. I have to get some help.
Next, what we're going to do is set the clock so that the thermostat knows what time it is. Okay.
I got it now. So first, I had to set what time it is. It's 2, and then I had to set what time daytime starts, 7 o'clock. And I want it to be 30 degrees. And the moon is nighttime, it starts at 9. The moon temperature, we want it to be 22 degrees. And since the probe thinks it's 28 degrees, it's dimming up because it's heating here. We want it to be 30 degrees Celsius. That was the last boring thing we had to do. Because now we've come to the fun part, which is decorating the vivarium. Now I've got this huge piece of wood that I think I want to keep here. And I have another one that I want to overlap with this one, creating a little platform. Yeah, I'm really liking that. So this will be the main structure. I might add some more wood here, maybe something coming out here as well, maybe some small pieces in the future. But for now we're going to keep it like this, and now let's get to planting. So I've got this gigantic fern. This is probably my favorite plant. I've split it up into two segments. I don't know if I should have the small one here and then the big one here. Let's take a step back and see what it looks like. Yes, I'm really liking that. The green is really bringing everything to life. Just want to put some pothos in between the lines here and see what that looks like. And here I got this super long pothos. There we go. We got a little root here going on as well. And the plan is to plant it here so that it can go here, behind here, and then up there. I can already hear people saying in the comment section that this is way too humid for a leopard gecko. So let's hear what Ricky Johnson from Herp HQ has to say about that.
In 2009, Mohammed Sharif Khan published a study showing his observations of wild leopard geckos, including habitat images like this, which shows a dried up but certainly not dry and dead. He also describes the effect of monsoon rains. So these geckos experience times of year with extreme moisture and air humidity of 70 to 80%. Another study in 2019 by a group of Nepalese researchers discovered a few individuals in Nepal in lush habitat that at times reached as low temperatures as 5 degrees Celsius. They were also found 1.5 meters above the ground within a dead tree. So how did you imagine leopard gecko wild habitat prior to this video? Dry, sandy and rocky? This is where they were found. Once again, relatively lush habitat with lots of foliage and no small amount of water. Water isn't the problem. Enclosure design is.